This is example number 5. This is for section 8-3. And again, as we look at our diagram here, they are wanting us to find the angle measure, the angle degree. So we need to figure out whether we're going to use sine, cosine, or tangent. So again, I would find the hypotenuse first and opposite the right angle, so I know this is the hypotenuse. And this side over here, straight across from my angle, is the opposite, but I'm not using that. And so that means this has to be the adjacent side. And so I'm using adjacent and hypotenuse, so that means it's got to be cosine. And so the cosine of my angle X is going to equal then the adjacent, which is 6.7, over the hypotenuse, which is 8.3. Now, there's my setup. Now remember, when we're dealing with an angle, we're always using the inverse. So I've got to divide by the cosine, so that means measure of angle X equals cosine to the -1, because we're dividing by cosine, we got to multiplying by the reciprocal, so that then we're using the inverse, cosine to the -1, and then it would be times 6.7 over 8.3. And so there is my setup now. I can use my calculator, and on my calculator I would go to either my shift button or my second button, depending on what type of calculator. And then I would hit shift and then hit cosine this time. And you should see on your calculator where it says cosine to the -1. And then a parenthesis, and then I would type in 6.7 divided by 8.3. And in parenthesis, and then I could hit equal or enter. And then I would give him my answer. The measure of angle X is equal to 36.1739, and we will round it to the nearest degree. So the measure of angle X is equal to 36 degrees, and that would be my answer for example number 5. So look at your diagram, label your parts like this: adjacent, that's hypotenuse, and figure out which one of your trigonometric ratios you need to use, and show your setup. And then, since we are finding an angle, anytime you're finding an angle, you're going to end up using the inverse operation, because we've got to move that to the other side to get the angle X by itself. And so that's where we use our inverse to find our angle measure. And so there is another example of finding the angle degree when you're using your trigonometric ratios.